Amir, you're welcome on my podcast.
Thank you very much.
Outstanding. In fact, my podcast is becoming more interesting because having all these cameras in front of me, that's cool. Thanks to the video guy.
Village, a woman went into labor. She was in tremendous amount of pain and no one knew what to do. I said, Dad, I don't want to feel like that ever again. I want to be a surgeon. I'll be the best surgeon in the whole world, carry my bag with me everywhere I go, and I'll save lives.
Good, Mr. Amir. I'm glad to be here in Frederick, Maryland, and I like the way you dress. You dress really sharp.
Thank you.
You make me envy. I thought I was a Mr. Sharp guy, but when I met you, I
You
was like,
are, you are.
no, when I met you, I said, I gotta up my game. I have to up my game. Good to see you.
Likewise, thank you.
Good. So I was looking up the internet chiropractor. I've never had a chiropractor. I've never had a chiropractic service in my life. I've never been to a chiropractor. But thinking about a chiropractor now, I'm just curious, and sitting down with you, this is an opportunity for me to ask you some questions. And my question would be: Is the chiropractic service is the chiropractic service a mental thing or is it a physical thing?
It's a neurologic thing.
Hmm.
It's neither mental or physical. It's neurologic. See, chiropractic is based on the premise that the human body, your body and my body, they are self-healing. What that means is if I cut my hand, it's going to heal. Even if I need stitches, it still heals by itself. The blood will clot, not everywhere else, only where it needs to. If I break this bone, you immobilize it, it grows back together and heals. The other bones don't grow, just that one. So there's this innate wisdom in the body that allows for self-healing and self-regulating. So if I need an enzyme, my body will produce it. If I need a hormone, if I need a substance, a coenzyme, anything, the body can produce it. That's why we have receptors throughout the body. That's how drugs work. So my body can produce opioids just like you take an opioid painkiller. So what we do as chiropractors is we know that the brain and the nervous system control everything that happens in the body, including healing, repair, and regeneration. As long as there's no interference in that system of nerves, your body should do what it's supposed to do, which is be normal. Something interferes with one of those nerves, the body can't function properly. My job as your chiropractor would be to find the area of interference, remove the interference so that the body can work the way it was supposed to.
Okay, granted, I don't know much about what you're talking about, to be candid with you. But some things I heard made sense. And something I heard, I'm still curious. When I say that is because the body heals itself. Now, what's the scientific proof that when you massage or touch or trigger some part of my body, it in turn heals somewhere else? What's the scientific proof for that?
Well, first off, there's no scientific proof that massage heals anything. So we don't massage. It's called an adjustment.
Oh,
An adjustment is we take x-rays, we make measurements to see which bone is misaligned, how many degrees, how many millimeters. We make lines and make measurements. Then we design an adjustment where we put that bone back where it's supposed to be to take the pressure off the nerve. We measure nerve function using technology, electromyogram, thermography, heart rate variability. We check and see what nerves are working, where, and then the x-ray tells me what's causing that nerve interference. Then after the adjustment, we repeat the tests, repeat the x-ray, make sure the bone is lined up properly. That's how we know it worked. So scientific evidence is in itself. I could show you pre and post x-rays of people with misalignments in their spine. After an adjustment, post x-ray, alignment is corrected, problems are gone. Problems like asthma, problems like acid reflux, problems like bowel problems, bladder problems, migraine headaches, even things like insomnia and sleep apnea, snoring. All of those can be caused by nerve interference.
Hmm. So tell me now, I was listening to a podcast by Joe Rogan. Have you listened to that podcast?
Yes.
Now, Joe Rogan said chiropractic service is absolute useless to him because he said he tried it and he didn't see results. The question is it possible for a patient or let's just say an individual to go through chiropractic services and they don't see results?
Well, to correct you on that, Joe Rogan actually said he still goes to the chiropractor. He just, in that very podcast, he said, I don't believe chiropractors can help people with other issues other than musculoskeletal pain. That's what he claimed. So what he said he goes to one and he still goes to one. He says they help him feel better, but he doesn't believe that nerve interference can cause the problem. But back in 1920, there was a gentleman named Henry Windsor. Henry Windsor was a medical doctor, and he worked at Pennsylvania Medical School. Now, University of Pennsylvania is an Ivy League school, very prestigious. And he said, I have heard these chiropractors claiming that they can cure things other than just back pain with chiropractic adjustment. I want to prove them wrong. So they gave him permission to do the studies. It became known as the Windsor autopsies. So he took about 100 bodies, cadavers, and he dissected them and he traced the nerve back to the spine. So if they died of liver failure, he traced the nerve to the spine. He found that there was a 99.9% correlation between the spinal segment and the disease that killed the patient. 99.9%, whether it was ovarian issues or uterine issues or bladder issues or heart issues, they all had where the nerve, for example, the top four thoracic vertebrae nerves go directly to the heart and lungs. They had heart failure. He found arthritis in those four segments of the spine, not anywhere else. And after the study was published in multiple journals, 1921, and it was republished multiple times after that. Windsor autopsies, it's all over the internet. You can look it up. But it proves scientifically and anatomically and neurophysiologically that nerve interference can cause disease. Therefore, removing the nerve interference should improve your health.
Oh, I see. Now let's just go back a little bit to the beginning of the whole chiropractic services, and just the act in itself as a chiropractor. Yeah, I made a little study, and I discovered that the founder of the chiropractic service uh, was more like into magnetic way of fixing things. Can you talk more about that? Just tell me. Okay, I don't know. Tell me. How was the chiropractic services founded?
Well, yeah, he was a magnetic healer,
Okay.
and he was an anatomist. So he'd studied anatomy.
Okay.
And one day, his assistant, he was saying goodbye to his assistant. This is the story. I don't know. This happened in 1895. He was saying goodbye to his assistant, who happened to be sweeping the floor. And he patted his assistant on the back, and they both heard a pop in his spine. And after that pop, the assistant's name was Harvey Lillard. Harvey claimed that the hearing returned in his ear. So prior to that, he couldn't hear out of an ear. After that pop in his spine, he could hear again. So that told D.D. Palmer, the founder of chiropractic, maybe there's a connection with the spine and the rest of the body. And so he started to study the spine. And he found that there's nerves that go to different organs, glands, and blood vessels. Misalignment in the spine can affect those nerves, which cause nerve interference in the organs. Let me ask you this. There's a nerve here called the median nerve,
Okay.
right? It's inside the carpal tunnel. You've heard of carpal tunnel syndrome.
Nope.
Carpal tunnel syndrome is where you have pain in your hand, numbness, tingling in the fingers, and it makes your hand weak.
Okay.
It's quite a painful condition. Carpal tunnel usually is treated with surgery. They remove the retinaculum on top to take pressure off that nerve, and the feeling comes back, and you can move your hand again. Okay. Now, why is that any different than interference on the nerve to my heart? See, if I press on that nerve, and I don't recommend doing this, but you could do it. You could press right here and press really hard, and your hand will go numb, and you'll lose function in your hand. Well, you're pressing on a nerve. So if pressing on a nerve, or you can press on the nerve in the neck that goes to the whole arm, and the entire arm will fall asleep. Or you can sit the wrong way, cross the legs, and stay like that, and one foot will fall asleep. If nerve interference makes you lose function in your foot, why wouldn't nerve interference cause you to lose function in a kidney or your bladder?
Wow. So just clearing the air. At what point do you think someone needs to visit visit someone like you? I'll put it that way, or someone into chiropractic.
But it certainly depends on the patient, on the person's goals and desires.
Okay.
So let me ask you, when do you think someone should go to a dentist? Should I wait till I have a toothache before I go to a dentist?
Probably not.
Probably not.
When you, I think there's this African adage that says that prevention is way better than cure.
100%.
So you probably want to keep it up before it goes
Exactly.
bad.
Exactly. If you have a spine,
Mm.
you should see a chiropractor.
Mm.
And if you want to wait till it hurts, now, see, the longer we wait, the harder it is to fix. The longer it takes to fix, the more expensive it is to fix.
Okay.
Where you get your spine checked on a regular basis, a dentist will x-ray your teeth to look for cavities.
Mm.
We x-ray the spine to look for subluxations.
Oh.
Very similar. I would recommend you have your spine checked every 2 to 3 years with x-rays to see if there's misalignments and start of degeneration. Catch it early, it doesn't lead to big bone spurs and nerve damage.
So I've listened and I've read a couple of things, and I don't really believe what I see on the internet because I believe the internet is it's more like a bin of a trash can for a whole lot of information. And because I've read a couple of things and I've seen people talk about things that I know I have personal experience about, and they've talked negatively about them. But I know that these are not really the right information. So, have you ever had a client or a patient who came to you with negative ideas about chiropractor, or don't even believe in the authenticity of the whole idea of chiropractic services?
Yeah, happens all the time.
So how?
Someone will come in and they'll say, I'm only here because my wife made me come. I didn't want to come. She thinks I need to be here. Those people get the best results.
Okay.
Because the nice thing is, the good news for you would be you don't have to believe in it for it to work.
Really?
Do you have to believe in gravity for it to keep you on the ground?
Oh no, definitely.
It's a science, it's a fact. So you don't have to believe in it for it to help you.
So, do you put extra energy or extra effort in order to help those who don't believe in it kind of see
No,
result, or you just do your basic work?
no. If you came to see me, I do my analysis. I analyze your spine. I'll do functional neurologic assessment to see if you can walk in a straight line, to see if your eyes are balanced, to see if your posture is balanced. Then we take the x-rays, analyze the x-rays. We do the nerve scans to see if the nerves around your spine are functioning properly. And if I see an abnormality, I'll fix it. You do the rest. Those are the people who go, I had no idea. It's kind of like if you've been driving your car for a long time and someone puts you behind the wheel of a Rolls Royce. Now you go back to your old car, which was a nice car. All of a sudden, it doesn't seem very nice anymore.
Right.
You really like the Rolls Royce. It's the same thing. We turn your body into a Rolls Royce. We take pressure off the nerve so it works perfectly, efficiently. So you're more comfortable. So you can stand longer. You're not tired. You can run. You can lift things. You become younger, literally younger. It is the fountain of
Wow. Okay, cool. I'll agree with you. I don't have a reason to disagree with you, but where I still have a question is a chiropractor a doctor?
It depends on your definition. Do you have to be a doctor to so yeah, so tell me, what is your definition of a doctor? Let's start there.
Okay, so a doctor, with my own understanding, has to go to school, study medicine, and then get the degree to actually practice medical services.
Right.
So when you look at the acceptance rate of a chiropractor, let's start with a doctor. With the little findings, like 20% getting as a like a probably anatomist or doctor or surgeon. But when you look at the percentage rate of acceptance for chiropractors into chiropractic school, it's almost 100. Okay, I'm not going to tell you 100%. You tell me, how many percent do you think get acceptance into chiropractic school?
I don't know. That sounds like that's a good question. That's a good question. You know what's probably more important is when they come out of chiropractic school, are they any better than when they went in? So chiropractic school, your first 2 years or first 4 semesters
Yeah.
is the same as medical school. You take your anatomy, your physiology, neuroanatomy, neurophysiology, toxicology, pathology, microbiology, public health. You take what's called the basic sciences. Now, you have to have a bachelor's degree before you go to chiropractic school. Okay. So my bachelor's degree is in chemistry, and I have another Bachelor of Science degree in human biology. Then in chiropractic school, once you take those basic sciences, you have to sit for national boards. National board exam, it's a 2-day, very intense test. You have to pass each subject separately, so an hour per subject over a day and a half. If you pass all of that, then you can specialize in chiropractic. Then there is another 6 semesters of doing rounds and rotations in different clinics and organizations where you get hands-on experience while you're still taking classes and tests, studying clinical sciences. At the end of that, you have to now take part 2 of the national boards, part 3 of the national boards, and part 4 of the national boards. Part 4 of the national boards is the practical one, where you go actually room to room. There's cameras, there's judges, and there's a patient, and you have to demonstrate competency, meaning you know how to diagnose, prognose, and treat patients. There's even x-rays on the wall where you have to read, or on the screen, you have to read the x-rays and find the abnormalities from every room. That test takes probably 4 or 5 hours, practical, and you get scored by all the different judges, and they determine, yes, you're qualified to be a chiropractic physician. After that, when you come to the state of Maryland, you have to take the Maryland State Board exam. And once you pass that, then they give you a number that says this is your provider number. This is qualifies you as a doctor. And you go from there. So it's very intense. Now, whether 100% of people who apply get accepted, let's say yes. I promise you, not 100% get through that kind of a rigorous curriculum to pass their boards, to pass their tests, to graduate and take the rest of the boards and be able to practice.
Wow. That seems pretty intense. Don't you think so? That seems really intense. Like, wow. Like all this, I'm not even sure. Probably other doctors, because my brother, is a doctor. He studied anatomy in school, and I don't think, maybe because I didn't spend much time with him while he was studying, but I don't think he went through all that rigorous.
I'm sure he did.
Really?
I'm sure he did.
Wow.
I have tremendous respect for medical doctors, just like I have tremendous respect for a naturopathic physician. They go through different training as well. So the way the word doctor means teacher.
Wow.
So can I teach you to be healthier? That makes me a doctor. So, but yeah, the degree is there, the training is there, and then I've done postdoctorate training in pediatrics as well and neurology. So it all depends. I'm learning every day. I think I learned. You know who my best teacher is? My patients.
Wow.
Because I learned from every single one of them. No two people are the same.
Who do you learn better from? The obstinate ones or the agreeable ones?
That's interesting. I think I learned from the difficult cases. See, one of the things that makes us special is our system of analysis is very detailed. So a lot of people who have not gotten results in other chiropractors come to us.
Okay.
And my first inclination is, tell me everything the other chiropractors did, because I don't want to repeat that.
Right.
Then we go, okay, they haven't tried this, they haven't tried that. So I think those are the cases where we learn the most from.
Right. So how can those who are viewing you now, how can they contact you? And if they contact you, what should they be expecting from you?
Well, it depends. If they want to come in as a patient, then go to our website, midatlanticclinic.com.
Okay.
And otherwise, my personal website is drrashidian.com. And there you have some access to my information, personal information. We can correspond through, digitally through email and so on. And certainly you can buy my book and read that as well. There's a lot of good information.
How much does the book cost?
I believe it's $24.95.
Oh, not too expensive.
Yes.
Wow. Oh, okay. Yeah, I heard you talking about your book. Just curious, how long did it take you to write your book?
So the first book I wrote took 6.5 years.
So this is not even your first book.
My second book is an extension of the first book. Yeah. Oh. So this one took a couple of years.
So did you have to go to some mid-island or to some mountain or some isolated place to write your book, or you wrote it while you're working?
No, I pretty much did it while I was working. Wow. Yeah, just in between patients, staying up late at night.
I see.
So I have severe dyslexia, so it's very difficult for me to read. I've had it throughout my life. Taking tests have been difficult. I never finished the test. I always ran out of time.
Right.
I didn't know I had dyslexia until I was ready to edit my first book. Then I thought, why can't I read? And so I started to research it and study it, and that's when I was diagnosed with dyslexia. So I had to hire an editor to read my book to me over the phone, and I would listen and edit verbally. So that's one of the reasons it took so long.
What will you have to say? This is generally because I see you as a mature man. I see you as someone who has experienced that, and building a business like this is not a day job. I know it takes a lot of tenacity. I know you have to. I know you put a lot into consideration before you have to build a business like this because I know, in as much as the service is there, the business is on the side. And that's what most people don't understand, that there's one thing about skill and passion, and there's another part that is called business, running it to generate revenue. What have you learned in this business? Not in what you do, but in it as a business. What have you learned?
The business is really what led me to put out this second book, because every time you grow, there's new stress. The human body, mind, nervous system, physiology is designed to adapt to stress.
Okay.
So when we started, it was me, my wife, maybe one employee,
Hmm.
and we were stressed. Then we hired more employees. So one employee became easy. I go, oh, if I only had one employee, life would be very simple. Now we have 2 locations, 15 employees, 3 doctors. So stress level goes up. You have to learn to handle it. So what I've learned is, if you want to grow, bring in more stress. If you want to generate revenue, bring in more stress. If you want to see more patients, bring in more stress. If you want to run a business full time, see patients full time, and write 2 books, be ready to handle the stress. Bottom line.
Right. What are just probably 3 steps? Anyone who is probably interested in becoming a chiropractor, what are the first 3 steps they should, kind of take?
I'd say go visit a chiropractor.
Mm.
Spend a couple days, learn from them, decide if it's really for you.
Mm.
I think it's a good life. When I wanted to become a chiropractor, I told my dad, because I have a half brother who is an OBGYN.
Okay.
And so my dad said, don't become a doctor because it's too much.
Mm.
And I said, well, I want to be a chiropractor, like and I can tell you Dad's story, which is what led me to become a chiropractor. But he asked me a couple questions. Number one, he said, how much is your malpractice insurance? Because my half brother, the OBGYN, pays over $100,000 annually to be covered for $3 million of malpractice.
Mm.
I'm covered for the same $3 million. I pay less than $1,000 a year, way cheaper. So he said, okay, check, that one's good. Another one, he goes, what are your hours? I said, I can pick my own hours as a chiropractor. I can work in the mornings or in the afternoons. I decide.
Mm.
He said, okay, that one's good too. He said, do you have to be on call at night, weekends, and holidays? I said, no, not as a chiropractor. They won't call you into the hospital. He said, go do it. That sounds great.
Right.
So that's what you need to know. It's a good life. It's a good life. It's a comfortable life. It's a lucrative life. It will pay your bills. It'll make you comfortable, and it's very fulfilling. You're surrounded with amazing people all the time,
Mm.
and you end up building a following. We have 10,000 patients already between our two. I think more now, and we see over 20,000 visits between the two offices annually every year. So it's a good life, and you'll enjoy it.
Are you looking to expand your location to other states in the
For
country?
sure. Yeah, I'll expand as much as I can. I'm not in a hurry, little by little, but we are going to outgrow our spaces. We're going to need more. More and more people are realizing the answer is not drugs and surgery. It used to be we thought that there's no other way to get better. You either drugs or surgery.
Okay.
Now people are realizing that's not the only answer.
Mm.
Drugs and surgery should be last resort. You should try everything else.
Okay.
Surgery is permanent, and drugs have effects. The term side effect, it's a marketing term. It's all effect. It's the effect of the drug. But the marketing people said if we call them side effects, people don't think they're as serious.
Mm.
Why risk your life?
Why would you like?
7,000 people die annually from over-the-counter pain medication.
So are you against drugs? Just to be clear, are you
I'm
against?
against unnecessary use of drugs.
So at what point can you say a drug is unnecessary?
When
Because it's
can
a
I say a
necessity.
drug is not necessary?
Necessary, yeah.
Yeah, when you don't need it. I mean, it's if you don't need it. So if you can manage your pain without drugs, don't take the drugs.
Okay.
But if you can't, let's say, balance your blood sugar without insulin, you need the insulin.
Okay.
If your thyroid gland has been removed and you need thyroid hormone, take the thyroid medication. I'm not against that.
Okay.
It's only when it's necessary. Part of the problem is I see doctors remove people's gallbladders and say you don't need it.
Mm.
We need our gallbladder. So you should supplement with bile salts after every meal because that's what the gallbladder does. It releases bile into your intestines to help you digest your food.
Okay.
So, but they take out the gallbladder, but because it's not a drug, they don't recommend bile salts. Bile salts is a supplement you can get at any health food store.
Oh, okay.
You should be on that. So, anyways, I have a problem with some people who go, I'm only going to prescribe drugs, not other things, even though you need them.
I believe it's just part of it's a strategy to make more money. Let me tell you a story. There was a time in the hospital when my ex-wife and I we were about to have our first son, and the hospital they kind of acted like they did their best, which I don't discredit them, but something happened that was I kind of find it sensitive. The plan was my ex-wife was going to give birth to a baby, the regular process. Somehow the nurses they went back and forth, and then they came back and told me that hey, we have to do a C-section. And I was curious, but we don't have any complication. Do we have any what do they call it, constriction or contraction or what? They started coming up with a bunch of stories, and I try to refuse. I thought about it that what is the probability that anything fatal might happen? Maybe not. How much have they made? They made more money. So in the end of the day, I see all this to be some kind of business strategy for ways for them to make more money. Which, well, I'm not regretting the fact that we had to do a secession, but I try to refuse, and they let me know that anything that happens is going to be on me. So, well, part of it is because they know the fund is there. They know the government is going to provide the money. They know the money is there, and they know secession is a lot more expensive. So I would imagine that even if there is any probability that she could survive having a regular birth procedure, they will still want to go for the C-section because it attracts more money. My grandfather lived up to 120 years. He never had any chiropractic service. He was working till he died. He climbed trees till he died. He never had any problems like that is so major, other than based on due to old age, some sickness. But other than that, nothing much. And my grandmother, she died in her 90s. So with that, I can deduce from that well, if these people can live that long, then well, maybe that nothing too wrong is going on with them. Now, I'm not saying this is what goes on in chiropractic services or in the chiropractic world, but is chiropractic service a luxury or is it a necessity?
That's, I like the question.
Okay.
Um, it's tough to answer because it's the same as saying is dentistry a luxury or is it necessary? Someone could go their whole life without ever going to a dentist,
Mm.
ever. And maybe their teeth are fine because they take good care of it on their own,
Mm.
right? And if they don't, what's going to happen? They'll lose all their teeth. And then they go, I definitely don't need to go to a dentist now. I don't have any teeth. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So it's not about how long you live. I know a lot of people live a long time, and some of them have quality years, and some of them don't have quality years. I know with medicine today, we can strap people to a machine and keep them alive.
Mm.
That doesn't mean they're enjoying their life. My focus is how do we make sure, however many years you live, you're enjoying those. And I know for a fact restrictions in the spine will suppress your ability to enjoy your life because something's not going to work properly. So I'm not saying chiropractic is a necessity, it's do or die. I'm not saying chiropractic care is necessary. What I'm telling you is it's necessary to have your spine checked. on a regular basis. There was a study done on Medicare patients. So Medicare patients are over 65.
Mhm.
And they found that the typical Medicare patient costs the government a little over $8,000 per year. So if they live from 65 to 75, that's $80,000 they cost the government during those 10 years, $8,000 a year for their medical services. They also found that if those Medicare patients saw a chiropractor once a month, the total cost of their healthcare dropped to under $4,000. Now, the research study is in the book. So, half. We can cut spending by half if we just promote health and wellness in the body. And I would never say chiropractic is going to make you live to be 100. It's about quality of life, right? Because we can strap someone, and this wasn't the case with your grandparents, or they'll strap someone to a machine and keep them alive. That's not quality of life. This is quality of life. So what are you most concerned about? Is how many years you live or how well you live while you're alive. How well you live is determined by how much you do to protect your health. So would you ever say exercise is a do or die, or is exercising a luxury? What would you say?
It's necessary.
Yeah, it's neither extreme, because we can come up with people who didn't exercise. In fact, another study came out. So if you exercise properly every day your entire life, you only add 1 to 3 years to your life.
Okay.
And if you eat right every day for your entire life, you only add 1 to 3 years to your life.
Okay.
That's not a lot of years.
Mhm.
But if you have positive mental attitude, you add 5 to 7 years to your life, and that was the highest. But they never did the study on what if you exercise, you eat right, and you have a positive mental attitude. That's when I think you add decades to your life.
Yeah.
Quality decades. Years where you're enjoying your life. Now, if there is something interfering with the systems in your body, just like when you go to the dentist, doesn't mean you have to have a root canal every time you go. What it means is you have to have your teeth checked every time you go to make sure there's nothing wrong, so it doesn't cause problems in the future. Someone will have a colonoscopy to make sure there's nothing cancerous in their colon. Another person will have a mammogram to make sure there's no tumors or cancerous tissue in the breast. So would you say it's necessary? It's do or die? It's not, because if they don't do those tests, some of them will still live their whole life without breast cancer. And some of them will get breast cancer and wish they had got it detected sooner.
Right.
You see what I mean? Someone will have spinal arthritis. The arthritis can cause pain to go down the legs. They'll have to walk with a cane, eventually end up in a wheelchair. And they're the ones that say, I should have gone to the chiropractor before it got this bad, so that the nerve interference would be removed. So getting checked is an absolute necessity. Having chiropractic care may not be.
Oh, okay. So I know you mentioned the other time that getting your nerves checked. Is it advisable for an individual to check the nerves themselves?
I mean, I wouldn't know how they could do it. It's done by X-ray, and unfortunately, it has to be a chiropractor who's trained to look for those things. Because I could look at an X-ray and I say you've got pelvic unleveling, misalignment of the first bone in your neck. The third bone is rotated, and you show that X-ray to a medical doctor who's not trained in chiropractic, and that person will say you don't have any fractures, you don't have any tumors, you're healthy. See the difference? So it depends on who's looking at your x-rays. But if you have an x-ray machine at home and you know what to look for, x-ray yourself every 2 years and look for problems.
I see. I see. That would be a huge risk to take. No, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. I would rather go to someone who is more specialized in that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, right. Okay, just to end our conversation for today, I'm a very big fan or big follower of poetic words, and I like following words that have intrinsic meaning. And for me, one is out of the night that covers me black as a thief from pole to pole. I thank whatever gods may be for my unconquerable soul. In the fair clutch of circumstance, I have not winced or cried aloud. Under the blood and means of chance, my head is blooded, yet unbowed. Beyond this place of wrath and tears looms but the horror of the shade, and yet the menace of the years shall find a family unafraid. It matters not how rough or tough the path may be. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul. For you, do you have any special riddles, words that kind of puzzle you or kind of make you think more about life or kind of you personally find interesting?
I'm a big fan of the Bible.
Okay.
So Bible verses are powerful for me. One I always think about is there's a verse in the book of Isaiah where God says, "I took you from the ends of the earth, from his farthest corners I called you. I said, you are my servant. I have chosen you and have not rejected you, so do not be afraid. I am with you. Do not be dismayed. I am your God. I will help you and strengthen you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand."
Powerful. Powerful. Thank you for getting on my podcast. Thank
Thank
you.
you.